Okay, for wing needle embroidery, yes, you can do wing needle embroidery, and it is absolutely beautiful. First of all, again, you want to use a nice crisp starched fabric. Looser the weave, the better. That way you get less puckering. So you would think this would make a beautiful wedding gift to do wing needle work on a sheet, the top of a sheet or a pillowcase, and you think, oh, that's going to be gorgeous. So we usually go out and we buy the nicest linens we can get. And most of the time, you're going to get horrible wing needle work with a lot of puckering, because when you're buying 600 count, thread count sheets, you're going to get a horrible amount of puckering. It's just not worth it. If you're going to try to do wing needle work on a sheet, get the cheapest ones with the loosest thread count, the smallest thread count you can find, and you'll be a lot happier. Also with the design, same thing. I'm going to use the size 16 wing needle in the machine. I'm going to use the same thread in the bobbin and in the needle. This time I'm going to use red, however. Most of the time I would use a white or a tone-on-tone color with wing needle work. And rayons are absolutely gorgeous with wing needle work. There's lots of designs. You can't just do any design with wing needle. You're going to damage your fibers. You want to pick a design that's specifically created for wing needle work. Some of my favorite designers for wing needle work is Criswell, CRISWELL.com. They do beautiful work. So Inspired by Bonnie has also a lot of beautiful designs for wing needle work. Then there's also Secrets of Embroidery has some, which is secretsof.com. They have it. And one of my favorites is Laura's Sewing Studio. And I'll put the links in the description below, and so that you can check out some of their designs. And there's lots of them. If you just put in your search engine wing needle embroidery designs, you'll come up with lots of them, and lots of companies that do that. Oh, another thing with fabrics too. I haven't tried it, but I've had some people tell me that they have dyed wing needle work on like a double knit or an interlocking knit dress or a blouse, and it's turned out beautiful. I have not tried it, but if you do, put it in the comments below. Let me know how it works out. Okay, so I have hooped my fabric, my linen, and I'm using dissolve away mesh stabilizer. You want one that's going to completely dissolve away. You want it hooped fairly tightly, and use the hoop that's the closest in size to your design, because then it gives you more even pressure. There are a lot of forces back and forth when you're doing wing needle work, so it helps to have this nice and tight. Okay, I've loaded my design into the machine, and this one I'm going to be doing is just a closed heart. Something very simple. It's only going to take about 9 minutes to stitch out. When you're doing wing needle work, again, I have changed out my regular embroidery needle for the wing needle right here. So this is a wing needle in here, and I'm using the same thread in the bobbin and in the needle. Most of the time with wing needle designs, the wing needle is going to be the first thing you're going to stitch out. Everything else is going to be using your regular needle. So this is actually easier to stitch than on the sewing machine, because you don't have to worry about a zigzag stitch and the needle hitting the sides of the needle plate if the zigzag's too wide, because with embroidery, you are only doing a straight stitch. It's only going up and down, and then what is really giving you the stitch itself, how it looks, is the movement of the hoop. Okay, so let's go ahead and lower the presser foot and let's stitch. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up after a couple minutes. Okay, and just a reminder, you have to thread your needle yourself. Don't use the needle threader. this is taking a while, so I'm gonna go ahead and stitch the rest of this off camera. Okay, I've finished stitching the wing needle work, and so now I've changed back to a regular needle, and now I can use my needle threader again, and now I'm just gonna do the satin stitch that just frames the wing needle work. Okay. And again, I will stitch this off camera, and we'll see how this design did. Remember, I did this one in palette, which is palette 11, same thing as PE design. Okay, here it is finished. Okay, here it is finished. It turned out really well. This is the one that I digitized with the palette 11 software. Same thing as PE design, and it actually turned out really well, and it did those candle wicking stitches really well. I know you can't see this on camera, but you can see, well, you can see my hand slightly through it. See? So you can see the holes. Now let's try stitching the one that I used the Embrilliance to digitize. Well, let's see how that turns out. And once again, I put the wing needle in the machine and use the same thread in the needle and in the bobbin. I'm going to go ahead and finish this off camera, and we'll see how it turned out. Actually, that turned out okay. It made the holes okay. Let's just finish it up, and then we'll compare this to what a professional design would look like. Okay, that one stitched out rather nicely as well. And this is the one using the Embrilliance software to digitize it. And it did turn out decently. Okay, the holes aren't quite as pronounced as the one I did with palette, but they're pretty good. Could I have made it better? Yeah, we're going to analyze this in a little bit, but first let's go ahead and stitch the designs that were done by the professional digitizer. Okay, this next design was digitized a very long time ago by a gal named Monica Anderton, and she had a company at one time called Monica's Miscellany Designs. I could not find any evidence of either her designs or her company on the internet. The website I had is no longer available, but this is one that I had readily available, and it is similar to the design we just did with the Embrilliance. And this way, I'm going to let you see how a pro does it. Now, she did two different types of stitches. This first one is using a straight wing needle, a straight stitch, as versus the candle wicking stitch that I did. So let's see how these turn out. Again, it starts with the wing needle. And I will stitch this off camera because this will take a while. This turned out very nice, although it's just a bunch of little squares. So anyway, let's do the next design. We're going to do this bell design from Monica Anderton, and this is how a normal wing needle design is going to stitch out. This time I'm going to try doing the stitching with metallic thread, and let's see how that turns out. Again, it's got the wing needle in the machine, and I've got metallic thread in the needle, but I put white in the bottom because this is a silver, so it'll turn out well. But this is using a candle wick type stitch. So let's see how this turns out, and we'll compare it to the one we did with the palette. And I will be back. Actually, it's stitched out very well. The holes are actually even more pronounced using the metallic thread than using the regular embroidery thread. Now I'm going to do the rest of the design. I'm going to finish the bell out with the metallic thread, and I put it in with a regular needle. The only difference now is that I'm slowing the machine down and I'm lowering the tension. And I put in a size 14 metallic needle. So I will finish this. And then the next color after this will be the bow at the top of the bell. So I will be back when it's finished. This one turned out really well. You can really see the holes. The metallic thread made all the difference in the world. But you can really see the holes. Okay, here we go. This is the one with the frame that was done with the cross stitch using the Embrilliance software. Only this time I'm also using the metallic thread. And again, I am not changing the tension, I'm leaving the tension like I did before, and we will just see how it turns out. And I will be right back. Okay, here I had a surprise. So let's take a good look at this. It did really well for the cross stitch, but if you will notice, there's a separation there at the top. Want to know why? This is what the stitching looks like. The satin stitching looks like when you forget to change out the wing needle, and it kept making noise every time it got into the corners where you had a little bit of density. So I do not recommend doing a satin stitch with a wing needle because it made all these little cuts all over the edges of it. Okay, let's take a look at these wing needle designs here. And I'm going to show them in the order that they are the best. Okay, now this is the best one. Of course, this is the bell with the metallic thread, which I thought worked out really well. And this is the design that's by Monica Anderton. This was done probably in the early 2000s, so this is at least a 20-year-old design. And I'm sure that she did this what was called manual punch. In those days, about 2003, there wasn't a lot of bells and whistles with our digitizing software that you literally placed every stitch. And this, I think, is why it turned out so well, because I think you can even see the holes. The holes, you can see them pretty well on the back, even better on the back. So you can see the holes are fairly large. And this is using the metallic thread, which I really liked. The second one that I thought that looked really good is the one that I digitized with palette, palette 11, and it is comparable to Monica's design. This one, again, you can see the holes pretty well on the back. This is the one where I have, I literally made the stitch. This was not a built-in stitch to the palette 11, but this is one where it did the programmable fills, and I will show you how I did that in the next segment, okay? This is the one that I also did with metallic thread, and this time I used the cross stitch feature in the Embrilliance software, and I really liked how this turned out. And I will again show you in the next segment how I achieved this. Now, the lesson I learned with this one is if you take a very close look at the satin stitch, I forgot to change out the wing needle, and it was done with the wing needle, and it literally made a cut all the way around, or separated it all the way around. So I'm not thrilled with that. But that was not dealing with the wing needle, but that was dealing with the fact I forgot to change the needle. This one is another one of Monica's designs from the early 2000s, And this one, again, you can see it really well. And if you noticed, it's stitched in little boxes all the way around. It did little squares all the way around. This was manually punched. This I could not duplicate. I probably could if in the palette if I had made another programmable stitch, but I did not do that. This is the one using the Embrilliance, and I think I used a motif stitch, and I will show you how I did that as well. This was done in the palette trying to use their cross stitch feature or their lace feature. It did not work at all. In the next segment, we're going to go to the computer and I'm going to show you how I digitize these. Okay, I'm going to start this by showing you how I digitized this piece. This is the one that was done on Embrilliance. I have opened up my Embrilliance and here it is. Here's my software. I have opened up the Embrilliance and I have to first create the shape. So this particular segment is only applicable to the Stitch Artist or the Creator level 3. Okay, so I am going to pick a shape. So I'm going to go up to my Shapes tool, which is right here. I'm going to find Shields. And I think that's where this is. There it is. There's the shape. And I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to go here to the edit key right there, which is that up arrow. And I want to make this maybe 3 3/4 inches high. So 3.75 there. And it changed the size of it. I could make it bigger if I wanted to, but that's fine. I'll just stick with this for now. Okay, then I'm going to go back to my Creator. And I'm going to pick right here a shape. And we've got the square shape. So I want the rectangle and I'm just going to make a rectangle inside. I'm going to select it again and change its sizes. So I want to select it and maybe make it 2.5 inches high. And I don't turn off the aspect or it won't let me change the other one. 2.5. That's a little bit big for this. Okay, we'll make it 2 inches. 2 inches by 2 inches. Okay, that's a good enough size. Okay, now I want to combine this as to one. So what I want to do first of all is I'm going to take both of these shapes and I'm going to copy them. I'm going to open up a new file, which is over here in the upper left, and paste them. That way, if I mess it up, I got it on another page. So I always paste it to another page. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the first one here. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is create that shape. I want to stay in this level 3 because now I want to select both shapes. And then I'm going to combine them. And this third from the left on this top set of icons, these are to manipulate your artwork. I'm going to take the center one here, which has got the little blue triangle here, and click on that. And notice on this side, it has created another shape. It has combined those two together. Okay, this is why I copied them before I did this, because I want to bring those lines back in as a satin stitch later. Okay, so now I'm going to pick the motif fill, and that can be in either level 2 or level 3. Or is it even in 1? It's even in if you had level 1. Here's what level 1 looks like. So yes, it would do it. There's my motif, and then I have to come over to the properties page, and I have to pick one. And I believe I picked, it was one of these. that I picked. I think it was a cross stitch. Here it is, cross stitch 1. I could do cross stitch 2, but cross stitch 1 is fine and okay. And there it is. I'm going to change these properties a little bit. So I believe I made these 6 millimeters. I'll use the slider bar. And then over here, this slider bar to 6 by 6. See, and there it was already done. And that's what it looks like on the screen. And then I'm going to go back to where I saved those pages. And I'm going to see, I saved these shapes in that second one. Then over here, what I'm going to do is copy again. So I'm going to copy them back, copy, go back to the first design and paste. They're back, and I'm going to take both of these and make them into a satin stitch. And I'll change the color just so that you can see the difference. And here's a green, we'll do that, okay. And I want to change, let's see, its length is 4 millimeters, okay. The width is 3.5, that's fine. I'll leave it like that. And now this is ready. That's what it will look like, and that's what it looked like finished. And here is what it looked like finished out. Let's go back to the screen and let's do this one here. This done also in Embrilliance, but it's done with a slightly different methodology. Now this time, I'm just going to go back to this original one and I'm going to undo everything until I get. Okay. Now it's just back to artwork. I went back all the way to where it's just showing this as a piece of artwork. Nothing special here. So this time, instead, I'm going to select the cross stitch area, okay, which is up here. Also available on Creator 1 or Stitch Artist Level 1. There we go. It was as simple as that. So I took the, I want to make it a larger cross stitch. Maybe eights. Maybe let's go with 10. Okay, 6. Okay, there's the shape right there that I used. And then I want it to be a double. I want it to run double 2 times through. Again, so that's done. And then again, go back to the other design and copy and paste. And make it, I should made it green again. Or some other color. I'll make it not yellow. Let's see. How about blue? Okay, we'll make it blue. And then change it to a cross stitch, to a satin stitch. And there, they look very similar. And see, that's finished. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I did the one with palette. And there were 2 ways. I'll show you first how not to do it. Okay, I'm going to pick my shape. So I have shapes here. And I have, here's my heart. I'm just going to pick whatever. There we go. All right, when you use palette is automatically going to, by default, put in a fill stitch, which is the regular fill stitch, and a satin stitch background. That's what it does by default. And it does it as 1 unit. So there's no having to combine 2 different units together in order to create a shape. So we can, it's a lot easier to do. So now I'm going to take this, I'm going to highlight this green, click off, and then just highlight the green part. And now I want to change this fill stitch to, I did was a net fill stitch. And you think, oh, that's perfect. Okay, that's perfect to get that square look. But the problem is that it's stitched like this. Okay, in other words, it did a running stitch. You couldn't get the holes to go consistently in one space, and it didn't give you the option to change the stitch length so that you can at least make it longer. Didn't work. Like you could take it, even make your spacing bigger if you wanted to, but it didn't change anything because it's stitched out as a small running stitch. It's not what I want to happen. And then it did the satin stitch. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't crazy about that. So I'm going to go back to this one. All righty. And then I could even have changed this easily to either a triangular pattern, which would have been wonderful, or that. Now, could I get the same effect? Yes. However, I would have to create my own programmable fill, because the problem with all of these is that it's stitched as a running stitch, and that so did not work. See, that's just, if you go really slow, you see it's just doing lots of little stitches in between, which is not going to work for wing needlework. Okay. Here's what my programmable stitch creator looks like. And what I have to do is I have to create the stitch in the first place. So this is my playing field, and this is the start and stop of the stitch. So what I wanted to do is this triangle, essentially just like a candle wicking stitch. And I have two options here. I have make a new fill or stamp. I want a new motif stitch. So that's what I want to do. I'm hitting a motif. Okay, so I'm telling it what I want to do is a new motif. So what I did was I have to put in, if you click, just click on a bunch of lines, just make a bunch of lines. And I'm going to make them pretty much over here. Okay, not too many of them. Move this over there. Okay, so the first stitch, I'm going to have it do one. This is one stitch at a time. One stitch here. I'm going to have it do the second stitch here. Return to the middle. Go down, or however you want it to sew. Think like a sewing machine. Back to the middle. And I'm going to put in some more stitches. I just need a few more. Actually, I need a lot more. So every time I click on the line, I'm getting another stitch. Here's the next one. I'm going to come over here, back into the same hole. This one here. Same hole. Need some more stitches. Okay. Up here. Hole. And down here. Back into the same hole. And then out it goes. Here's the inlet. So this is over here on the preview. It's showing you what it's going to look like, which is exactly what I want it to look like. And then I am going to save it. So you would go to save. Okay. And then I'm going to call it Wing 1. Okay, I've already done it once, but it won't hurt to do it again. And it saves as a PMF file. So I hit save. I want my default size. It says it was 5 millimeters. I'd actually like my default size to be 6 millimeters. Yeah, let's do it 6 millimeters. Okay, and save. And of course, yes, I just replaced it. Okay, then we would go back. Okay. We would go back to my layout and editing in palette. Okay. So I'm going to hit the select key and I'm going to just select this fill stitch right here. Okay, where the green is. And instead of having it on the last one, I want it to be a motif stitch. That's what I want in the middle. Okay, so I hit motif and I'm going to select. I have to scroll down till I find the motif, and here it is. Here's the pattern. It says pattern 1. I'm going to pick that and I'm going to find it wherever you put it. This, and my machine, it puts it under the palette 11 under the patterns. And here's wing 1. There we go. Done. It's already 6 millimeters. It's just right. The only thing I would need to do is maybe change the width of the zigzag. So that's going to be in the same sewing attributes box, but I'm going to go under the top and it says under sewing. Yeah, that's fine. Zigzag width is 2 millimeters. That's too small. I want it to be at least 3.5. Okay, and then click outside and instantly made the change. Now you can go ahead and save it and then stitch it out. Now, if you didn't like, if you decided that you didn't want it to be that wide, you want it to have better stitching or closer stitching, over here where it says the pattern, here where it says the motif, says 6 millimeters, you're more than welcome to move that down. See, once I move it to 5 and then hit enter, see, it makes it smaller. So you can get it looking how you want it to look. And then you go ahead and save it to your USB or send it over by network, and then go ahead and stitch it out. And that's all it takes to do this particular stitch. So if you have any questions, be sure and send me an email at waltzquilt@yahoo.com. And if you would like a copy of any of these three designs, which is the done with the Embrilliance, which is either the frame, the squarish frame, or the hearts, then I will also send those to you. Okay, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this session. Hope you learned a little bit about wing needlework, and I hope you will try it out. If you would like to try embroidery with a wing needle and you don't have a design, feel free to send me an email request at waltzquilt@yahoo.com, and I will be happy to send you either of these 3 designs, or all of them if you like. This one done, just let me know. If you just want one of them, sort of describe it, say the red heart, the silver frame, or the red frame, and I'll be happy to send you the designs. So until next time, happy sewing. Bye.